When did you last do something like that? To slow down and really, really savor something beautiful, just for a moment. You're listening to the Wow podcast. I'm Jennifer Robin. This content is for informational purposes only, not medical advice. Full disclosure in the description. Before we jump in, let's get grounded with 2 deep breaths. Inhale. Hold if you can. And exhale. Inhale. Hold if you can. Exhale. So, I began writing this episode a few days before I planned to release it, and it did not go out as planned. I actually took a quiet publishing pause because it was necessary for my well-being. And we're starting here so I can give you some context. This isn't about procrastination, self-sabotage, perfectionism, or poor time management skills. We're talking about what happens when life piles up, when you take on extra responsibilities, when things don't pan out the way you planned for, and the things you thought you had time for suddenly have no room left. If you've been listening for a while, you know I'm always honest with you about where I am because I like to model being real without excuses and not pretending to have a Stepford wife, Instagram perfect life, because I don't. I don't think anyone does. I was going to say that these last few days have been difficult, and then I realized this is only day 2. Seriously, wow. It already feels so much longer. My husband is away on a work trip, and unlike earlier in our lives, our household responsibilities look really different now. My kids are grown, so you'd think it would be simpler, but I'm older, and I have less energy, and 2 rambunctious puppies, a flock of chickens, and a muddy, swampy yard. And our property is a registered apiary and it's a certified wildlife habitat. So we also feed and support birds, squirrels, and other critters. It's not a ton of work, but the work is usually shared by both of us. And let's be honest, he does most of the animal related tasks and all of the unfun stuff at our house, like crack of dawn, animal feeding, and dog walks, like a last potty run for the dogs at bedtime when I'm already in a semi-coma, like scooting rebel chickens into bed when they stay out in their open pen after dark so they can stay safe and warm, like planning and cooking meals even after working all day because I hate cooking. Now, before some of you freak out, I cooked for probably the first 30 years of our marriage, but I just never enjoyed it. And now that we're eating healthier, whole-based foods without all the chemical junk in them, the cooking that I used to do with the help of boxed mixes and canned sauces and pretty much anything from the center of the grocery store isn't even an option anymore. So I pitch in by taking care of other tasks within the home, just not cooking. Anyway, this week of being alone started whether I was ready for it or not. On day 1, we got up at 4 a.m. to drive to the airport, except it was really 3 a.m. because of that blasted time change. This was the first time we left our puppies alone in the house, and we were stressed out a little bit about it. You see, the younger one, Callie, she outgrew her crate, and we haven't gotten a new one yet. So we ended up leaving both puppies in the bedroom, loose, with the door shut and hope for the best. They seemed fine when I got home, and they didn't destroy anything as far as I could tell, but they're very confused and they're really anxious about why their daddy's not home. And they've been sleeping on the bed with me, getting up periodically in the night looking for their daddy. And between that and the early morning potty break and the potty break that's after my bedtime and being woken up a few times during the night, I am lacking some significant sleep. Now, before this week started, I shifted as much of my to do list out of this week as I could because I knew I was going to be tired and have less free time. But getting a podcast episode planned, recorded, edited, and published was begging for more time than I could honestly spare. And then I had to deal with the guilty and the anxious feelings with, oh no, can I really hold off on this and skip a week? I had this voice in my head like Chicken Little saying, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Does any of this feel familiar to you? Not necessarily the chickens or the puppies, but that feeling of carrying just a little bit more than you budgeted for and watching your own to do list become a kind of background noise that you can't turn off. I think a lot of us live in that place more often than we say out loud. And then, in the middle of all that, something unexpected happened in my kitchen. Yesterday, day one of this Alone with the Animals week, I had this silly idea that might be a good time to try to cook two new recipes at the same time on the same day to use up a batch of eggs. This is me who doesn't like to cook. So, not sure why I chose this week to do it, but I was able to use up 22 eggs in two strata recipes. And I had to zest a lemon for one of the recipes. And I don't think I've ever done that before. I had to Google how to do it. As soon as I started gently grating that lemon, it just pulled me in and everything else froze. I held it up and smelled it, really slowly smelled it. That sharp, bright, almost electric smell of fresh lemon zest. And for about 30 seconds, nothing else existed. Not the to-do list, not the tiredness, not the puppies chasing each other through the house, not this episode, just that lemon. How have I never smelled a lemon before? It sounds so small, but I savored that moment. I was truly in the moment, in the now, as they say. When did you last let something small stop you like that? A smell, a sound, a view, maybe a feeling? And then later that evening, after I'd gone out to put the chickens in for the night, which is its own adventure if you've never wrangled a chicken who has decided that she's just not ready to go to bed yet. Well, we have 6 of them, and usually at least 4 of them don't want to go to bed. Anyway, after all that wrangling, I stood on the porch for a moment before going back inside to the dogs. And there was a beautiful pink sunset over my house behind the trees that I couldn't even see from inside. I noticed it, and I was about to rush into the house to care for the puppies, but I stopped myself. It was freezing, and I had more to do on the other side of that door. But I stood there and allowed myself to drink it in, to marvel at the contrast of the dark trees against the pink sky, to just be still for a few moments and breathe. No puppies, no noise, no tasks, just me and the sky. And I let myself have it. I stood there and I just let it be beautiful. Both of those moments were tiny, a combined total of maybe 3 minutes out of a very full, exhausting day. But when I went to bed that night and thought about what the best 3 moments of the day were, those were 2 of them. When did you last do something like that? To slow down and really, really savor something beautiful, just for a moment. To really be present in the now. We're talking about little things: smelling a flower, watching a squirrel eat a nut, feeling a warm mug in your hands, or listening to the music of a soft rain. We talk a lot about mindfulness on this show, and this is a perfect reminder that being in the moment does not have to mean meditation. It doesn't have to be planned or scheduled, but it can lift your spirit in just a few minutes. Now, I want to talk about the other thing this week showed me. My husband does a lot. I know this. I thank him for most of the things he does, and we're both good about acknowledging each other. But there's a difference between knowing something and actually living inside its absence. This week, I've been doing his morning chores on top of mine, his evening chores on top of mine, and I just keep thinking, he does this every single day? From the outside, when he's here, all this stuff just happens. I don't have to worry about it. The birds and the squirrels are fed, the chickens are in, the dogs are settled. It's just part of the rhythm of our home. But this week, I felt the full weight of that rhythm. And it is not small. When one partner is missing and the other person does the work of two, it makes it crystal clear that, wow, this is a lot. Even when we love someone and we appreciate them, I think it's too easy for the day-to-day things to just fade into the background. Not because we stopped caring, but because when something happens consistently and reliably, we stop registering it. It just becomes the way things are. Do you have anything like this in your life? A partner, a parent, a friend, a coworker who holds something together that you might not fully see because it's just always been there? And have you thanked them recently? It might not even be a person. It might be your own body doing thousands of things a day without you giving it a second thought until something hurts or stops working and suddenly you just can't think about anything else. Like if you remember me talking about how my knee injury put a harsh end to my forest walks and left me with crutches and then a walker a couple years ago. I think there's real value in asking ourselves every once in a while who or what would leave a giant gap in our lives. Not because we want to live in fear of losing things, but because noticing it while it's here is a completely different experience. You see, I believe we're not meant to do life alone. I know that sounds obvious, but I think a lot of us have this quiet belief running in the background that we should be able to handle things, that we should be able to be completely independent, that needing help or needing another person is somehow this gap in our capability. Like if we were just more organized or just more disciplined or got up a little earlier, we could cover it all, cover everything. I struggled to do the responsibilities of two people at once. We built something together that actually requires both of us. And that is not a weakness. That's just what a partnership looks like when it's working. I think about how much we celebrate independence, especially as women. You know, doing it yourself, not needing anyone, just figuring it out. And there is real value in that. I'm not saying be helpless, but I wonder if we have overcorrected a little bit. If we have made self sufficiency such a virtue that we feel almost embarrassed when we bump up against our own limits, when we realize that we genuinely can't do it all. I believe we were never designed to carry it all. Whether it's a partner, a close friend, a family member, a community, we do better when we're held, when we share the load. And I encourage you to think about this and even journal about it. Not just who helps you in life, but who do you actually let help you? Those are two different things. Because some of us are really good at helping everyone around us and are genuinely not great about receiving help back. We deflect it, or we feel guilty about it, or we say, we're fine. when we are very much the opposite of fine. Do you have people in your life who would show up if you let them? Who has maybe even offered and you said, nah, I'm all set. I've got it. Thanks. I've been that person. I've said I've got it when I clearly didn't. And this week, I didn't have a choice. There was no one else to pitch in. The puppies needed walking, the chickens needed tending, this episode needed recording, and some of it got done well, some of it got done barely, and some of it just didn't happen. And guess what? My household survived. We're all still here. There's something almost relieving about a week like this, as exhausting as it has been so far, because it strips away the idea that I can do everything, and it replaces it with something truer. I do a lot. My husband does a lot. Together, we do this whole life. And when it's just me, I can feel the shape of that. I feel grateful for it. And I feel a little more willing to ask for help next time from wherever it's available. Because you don't have to wait for a crisis before you let people in to help. So, what does a lemon, a sunset, and a week of doing everything myself have in common? I think it's about presence, really being here in the small moments. Presence is what keeps us from drifting through our own lives. It's what lets us actually feel the things that are good, even inside a difficult week. And it's what keeps us connected to the people who make our lives possible. I didn't plan this episode to be about gratitude, but that's what this week handed me in the most practical, unglamorous way possible. Not gratitude as a concept. Gratitude as a fresh lemon I held up and smelled. Gratitude as 2 minutes on the porch, watching a magnificent sunset. Gratitude as really seeing how much my husband and I not only carry together, but have created together. I have 2 journal suggestions for you, or if you don't journal, just allow yourself to quietly think about these. Where in your life are you running on autopilot? Where the good things just faded into the background simply because they're always there? And where are you saying, I've got it, when you really do not? Is there someone that you could let in? Take care of yourself this week. Notice something small. And if there's someone in your life doing the invisible things, tell them. Let's close this episode with 2 grounding deep breaths. I encourage you to inhale in, hold if you can, and exhale. Deep inhale. Hold if you can. And exhale. Have a fabulous week, my friends.